Hello friends, so today I'm going to show you how we're going to draw our color wheel and then we're going to actually be painting it. Don't worry about what I've drawn around the outside here. You're going to decide what kind of animal or creation you want to make around your outside. We're all going to make a circle in the middle. We're all going to make these lines that divide up our circle so it looks like a color wheel, and then we all will use our primary colors and then mix our primary colors to make our secondary colors. So what we're going to start with today is you'll have a white piece of paper like you see here on my desk. Like always, we're going to write our name first. So I'm going to write Miss D. Hawes. Once you've written your name, now we're ready to trace our circle. Since it's a color wheel, we want to think about putting it in the middle of our paper. You're going to get a container like this. It's just an open container. We're going to trace the circle of the container. I like to do it upside down, and to trace something, it means I draw around a shape. I will hold my hand on the container. I'm going to start on one side and drag my pencil around the shape, kind of like a car going around a racetrack. If I bump into myself with my pencil, I will scoot my hand over and keep tracing around the circle. Once I have made it to the starting point where I started my circle, I can lift up my container. If you made a mistake or need to erase something, just use your eraser on your pencil. So now I've drawn a circle. Since I've drawn my circle, now I need to draw the lines that divide up my circle so it looks like a color wheel. Now we're going to use a ruler to make your lines nice and straight. Remember, this is a tool, it is not a toy. When we use our ruler, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a skinny X for the first two lines. So that means I want my X to be skinny, not super fat like this. I want to make a diagonal line. That means it goes from one side across the paper, not vertical straight up and down, and not horizontal straight across. We're going to make a diagonal line. I'm going to start on one side of my circle, on the inside, and then I'm going to drag my pencil, holding my ruler with my other hand, across the paper, and now I have one diagonal line. You see I started and the inside of the circle, and I stopped when I hit the other side of the circle. Now since we're going to make a skinny X, we're going to try to go through the middle of the circle. So think about where the middle of your circle is. It's okay if it's not perfect, but I think this is about the middle of the circle. You can even look with your eyes and put a little dot where you think the middle of the circle is. Whatever works best for you. Now we don't want to make a big fat X. We want to make a skinny X. So we're going to go ahead and make our pizza slice, or a triangle. It kind of looks like a pizza slice to me. We're going to make it pretty skinny. So once I think that's about the shape I want, not too big, probably about a little bigger than the size of your hand, same thing, draw from the inside of the circle across the circle, and there you go. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw not a diagonal line, but a horizontal line across the center of my circle. I'm going to start from one side of the inside of my circle, holding the ruler. It's going to go through the middle of the X, and that's going to be my horizontal line. And now you can see I have 6 different pieces of pizza for my color wheel. Once you've drawn your circle, if you were drawing along with me, that's fine. If you were drawing by yourself, once you've drawn your circle, now we're ready to get started painting. Alright, so now that you have drawn your color wheel, now it's time to paint. Before we get started painting, let's review our Mr. Brush painting rules, which you might remember from when you were in kindergarten. So you see here, I have all of our Mr. Brush rules that we talked about when we were in kindergarten. Make sure you're trying to keep your paint on your paintbrush's hair, the Mr. Brush's hair. That will keep him nice and clean. We don't want to chew on his feet because that would be very, very bad. We want to make sure we're not smashing his hair. Remember, you're painting nice and gentle back and forth, especially when you're mixing colors. And we need to make sure he's very clean when we are ready to use a new color. What I also want to remind you really quick is how to wash out your paintbrush. Remember, when you want to switch colors, you need to wash the paintbrush. We swish it in our cup of water. You can push it onto the bottom of the cup of water, swirl it around a few times. You see my hand is not going super fast. wipe it on the side of the cup to get some of the water off. You see I'm just wiping his hair on the side of the cup. Then I can tap it on the towel to dry off my paintbrush. I don't want my paintbrush to be dripping with water. So we blot it on the towel. Now that my brush is clean, I'm ready to get started painting. You can see here I've already painted my primary colors on my color wheel. You probably just did that as well. Remember, when you're using your paintbrush, you want to make sure you're being nice and neat. Excuse me, my foot hit my camera. So, now that I painted my primary colors, now we're ready to get started mixing the secondary colors. We talked about this already in class, but we're gonna go ahead and mix the colors. What's really cool is that the secondary colors are in between the primary colors that create them, or that you mix to create those secondary colors. So red and yellow are on the outside of the secondary color orange. So when we want to make orange, we're gonna mix yellow and red. Now yellow is a lot lighter than red, so we're gonna start with yellow, and watch what I do. This is very important. We're gonna open your yellow up. I'm gonna take my brush. I am gonna get a little more paint. I'm gonna scoop a little bit, and I'm gonna scoop some yellow onto my paper. And I can go ahead and leave that little puddle of yellow there. I'm gonna rinse out my brush, swish, wipe, and then blot it on the towel. And then I'm gonna get a tiny bit of red. So watch what I do. I got a lot of yellow, but watch what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tap my brush into the red, and I just got a tiny bit. And when I'm ready to mix, I'm gonna make little circles on top of my yellow. And when you mix red and yellow, you create orange. So now that I've mixed the puddle of yellow and red, I can start to paint super neat. Just the tip of my brush. I'm gonna try and keep it in that pizza slice. So now that I have created my orange, I can go ahead and create my green and my purple. You can watch me do those two next. Awesome job, friends. So you see I just painted all of my color wheel. I haven't washed my brush out yet because I want to remind you of one more thing. If you just put your brush in the water, swirl it once or twice, and then start to wipe it on the side of your cup, but you see how there's still purple on my brush? That tells me I didn't wash my brush enough. Because we're mixing colors, it'll be super important you really swish your brush, wipe it on the side of your cup, and tap it on your towel. When you tap it on your towel, if you do not see any color come off your brush, you did it correctly. All right, friends, remember, primary colors first. Go ahead and mix your secondary colors. The primary colors on the outside of the pizza slice will make that secondary color. If you need help, just remember to ask your teacher for some help. Happy creating!